Trump 28. Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
Yes, Steve Bannon is declaring it's gonna happen. Screw the Constitution, screw the law, screw America, whatever. We have to have this one guy in office, and he's gonna be president in 2028. I agree, I think he's likely to be president in 2028 for like 19 days. And then we're gonna kick his ass out of the White House. That's how it worked the last time around. People got a taste of him for 4 years and they had no interest in having any more of it. They hated it so much, they voted for Joe Biden over it. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. Also, pretty rich to take a look at Donald Trump and how rapidly his body is decomposing in live view and assume that he's gonna be around in a few more days. And also, one thing that I think is missed in all this conversation about 2028, if you're a MAGA person and you hear Steve Bannon say that, you probably get excited, right? Like, hey, even more years of Trump. But his reasoning is that the job won't be done. I have a point to make about that, but let's play one more video for you.
President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
It is a little bit rich to hear about Trump being an instrument of divine will from a guy whose face looks like he's been cursed by the Egyptian gods or something. But anyway, if you're MAGA, again, you probably like that. But it is one thing to say, you know, when you're running for your second term, the election's in 3 months, let's finish the job. Do you get what he's telling you? In 3 years, we won't be done. No. Trump's not gonna have done this thing. We're gonna need 4 more years of him. He's telling you 3 years in advance that Donald Trump is not gonna deliver in this term. And he's had 5 years at this point as president. And if he ain't delivered at this point, I don't know why you'd give him a third try. Also, not a big vote of confidence for the Republican bench. There's nobody else now, nor will there be anybody in 3 years that could possibly govern. And in fact, Donald Trump will leave our republic on such shaky ground that not even JD Vance could take over at that point, not even Don Jr. We're gonna be so weak, so bad off that it has to still be Donald Trump even years into the future. Now, of course, Nina, you don't need to tell me, or you don't need me to tell you that the Constitution doesn't allow for this. I will just say, I'm glad that he keeps talking about it, because one of the tricky pizzicky ways they would try to do this is have him run as like the VP to JD Vance. But I don't know, after 4 years of you guys saying that's just a trick to get him in office, I don't think you're gonna fool people necessarily. But what do you think, Nina?
Yeah, I mean, listen, out in the open, the difference between the fox and the wolf. So the wolf is staring us in our face and letting us know, forecasting what they are going to attempt. And they're gonna attempt to do it in 2028. You know, these same rule of law folks that always preaching the gospel of the rule of law, and you got Steve Bannon straight up saying the hell with the Constitution, the United States Constitution, and there's many ways to interpret the Constitution. I thought the judiciary, that was their job to do that. You know, nothing is new here. It reminds me of the notion of manifest destiny of the 19th century. You know, part of that was about the destiny of Americans to continue to move west, to continue to take the land, you know, in this country from indigenous people, et cetera, et cetera. But this has a flavor of that. He is destined. He is an instrument of divine will. Well, whose divine will? And which deity are you worshiping that now tells you that this right here is okay?
Yeah.
See, so it matters. If you would ask other folks, no, they would not say that President Donald J. Trump is an instrument of divine will. For whom becomes the question. So John, this is wild. But what I do appreciate about them, they telling us straight up.
Yeah. Exactly. No, you're 100% right. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't read like every page of the Bible. Maybe at some point in the New Testament, Jesus is like, you know, I love it when you post videos pooping on your fellow Americans or whatever. You know, maybe that's how it works. Or no, again, not like Steve Bannon posturing as a Christian means even less than like a Mike Johnson, a George Santos. Steve Bannon is a massive con man. He robbed his own followers. Okay, this is not about divine will. This is about billionaire will. This is about extracting as much wealth as possible, tearing down as much regulation as possible, lowering taxes as much as possible. Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this. Okay, right. This is about the top 0.1% getting paid, because all of them have a terminal case of addiction to money, okay? And they're willing to bring us all down with them as they pursue more of it. So anyway, look, bad news for Steve Bannon. Well, assuming we have elections, I suppose. Donald Trump is wildly unpopular because people are paying attention to how stupid his policies are and how ineffective they've been in improving people's lives. It's why, as of right now, he's polling in terms of his people's support for his economic policies. It is the worst any president has ever had at this point in their presidency. It is worse off than he has ever had in all of his presidency, either this term or the previous 4 years. So no, people are paying attention. You're getting what you want. You got your low taxes, your deregulation, but people get that it's not helping them out. And the fact that prices are going up and their healthcare costs are about to explode and the government is still shut down, and all Donald Trump can talk about is magnificent ballroom, is telling people everything they need to know. He doesn't care about them. He never did. He ain't gonna.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.